I'm a diehard capitalist. I make no apologies for that. I think capitalism has created more wealth and lifted more people out of poverty than any force on earth. But one massive, massive, massive downside of capitalism is that it feeds on the human desire for more. We were just talking about this, bigger and stronger and faster and taller, and it has become the American way. You can never be content. Advertisers, I worked in advertising. I worked at Procter & Gamble in marketing. I started on the engineering side and product supply and went over to marketing, to the dark side. And American society, American advertisers do not want you to be happy because how will they sell you anything, right? That's the whole thing. Keeping up with the Joneses is a cliche for a reason, and we're always looking up at what other people have. And that's the thing with this country that's different from a lot of other countries. Living in Cincinnati, anyone here from Cincinnati? Clap. Anyone? Okay, some Cincinnati folks, hooday. Some of my, hopefully, Bengals fans in the house, 1 and 4, I don't know, but we'll see where we go with that. But the thing is, you could live in Mason, Ohio, which is a very, great suburb, very high-end place. You could drive down I-71, you could go to the GO, and you could shop at Kenwood Town Center, and every single city across America is like that. You'll have your equivalents of the great suburb, the rich people's freeway, where the trains don't go over the streets, they go over bridges. That's how you know it's a rich suburb, Poor suburbs, it goes over the street. Otherwise it goes, the rich people, they don't have time to wait for the train, right? So it has to go under or over. It goes over your street, you're in a poor neighborhood. So that's how we live near a train, by the way. So I could say that in Burbank, and it does go right over the street. So you can go this way and go throughout your entire day, your entire week, your entire year without seeing anyone poor. It's true. We're very isolated in this country. My parents would say that ever since I came from India. We're isolated. I didn't know what that meant because in India, it is not like that at all. It is not like that because everybody is together. A lot of countries in Asia are like this as well. I always like to say countries in Asia are like if you take all 3 Back to the Future movies and you jam them into one TikTok. Because you were simultaneously in the future, in the past, and the Wild West all at the same time. All right, because you will see next year's model of electric Range Rover driving down a dirt road in Mumbai trying to avoid hitting stray cows. I'm not making that up. That is true. That is not an exaggeration for comedic effect. You will have to live with people who are different from you, and it's easy then to go, oh my gosh, my life is hard, but it's not that hard, right? There's a comparative factor that exists in Asia that I feel does not happen here in many suburbs, not all suburbs, but a lot of suburbs in America. Another one is text messages are a constant stream of things. So I have a rule where when I get a ping, I reply to the text to before it, because you're gonna get another text, right? What did Jerry Seinfeld say? He goes, when I was young, my mom would always scold me, say, you're gonna ruin your appetite. When you become an adult, you realize there's another appetite coming right behind it. There's another one coming constantly. There's always going to be another text. And yeah, I might have changed the names here to impress you. But at any rate, yes, yeah, those aren't all real texts necessarily, but it makes it interesting. So that's another thing that I do is I don't reply right away because you get just sucked into all of these conversations on text and whatever else, and I make people wait a little bit. It is very, very rarely urgent. I mean, people will call you if it's urgent. I know the younger people in the room are like, you probably don't even know if your phone can make phone calls because all you do is text. Like calling without texting now is like, in our generation, it was the stopping by without calling. That's the new version of that. People would just pop by your house. People now will never dare call you without texting you first. But if it's that urgent, I think that they will do it. Another one, we're in Boston, so I have to put up a screenshot of The Departed, one of the great movies. So 2006, there's Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg. And there's a great scene there where Martin Sheen's character is trying to recruit Leonardo DiCaprio to come work in their department, and they're undercover cops in this one. And he says, we deal in deception here. What we do not deal with is self-deception. That always has stayed with me. I thought that was really great. It's important to reduce the conflict between perception, especially self-perception, and reality. Because all week, I've had people ask me, why did you leave? How did you do it? You left Procter & Gamble, you became a comedian. I said, come to my session, I will answer this question, I have also already partially answered it by saying that I turned 30 and I flipped out and I'm like, oh my God, it's really freaking me out that I'm still doing what I want. I'm not doing what I really wanted to do with my life because I love my job. I have a lot of people ask me all the time, did you hate being an engineer? Did you hate working at Procter & Gamble? I'm like, no, I liked it a lot. That's what made this decision even harder. If I hated it, it would have been easy. But it was really difficult. Most comedians are not engineers. Right, because the left brain, right brain thing, they're about as far apart as you can get. I'm just really smart. No, it's because a lot of us are cursed with this, so you're good at a lot of things, right? You're good at a lot of things, so it's hard to narrow it down into one thing. It was a series of 4 conversations that I had. One of them actually ended up in the New York Times. One of the conversations I had, it was an offhand remark by my brother, and there was a great article written. I could not screenshot the top of it because I don't have a subscription. So what I had to do was I pulled it up in Chrome and it pulled up the subscription thing. So I went over to Safari, shot the screen real fast, and this is what I got. So that's it. That's the middle of the article. Even the highlight isn't really relevant here, so ignore the highlight. But it was a great piece about the remarkable shelf life of the offhand comment. I loved that concept. Somebody says something to you completely offhand and it just destroys your life. You can't believe that a person just said that to you, and it was just like such a crazy thing. And I had that happen to me 4 times. And one of them was, I was in the media department at P&G, and I was co-leading branded entertainment for all brands in North America. Super fun job, flying to LA and New York and talking to record labels and movie studios and talent firms. And my main contact at CAA, creative artist agency, the largest talent firm in the world, was this man named Roger Fishman. And we would talk every morning for about an hour. He was a great philosopher, and he would always share all this information and kind of life advice with me. Some of it sprinkled in here, I'm sure, because it got in there in the water somewhere in which I swim. And I said to him offhand, it was in the morning, we had these hour-long conversations, and he just goes, he's saying something, and I go, well, you know, because I'm a wild and crazy guy. And he goes, yeah, 30 years in Ohio, 6 years at Procter & Gamble, you were so wild and crazy. Silence. And he goes, hello? I was a buyer, he was a seller. I go, I cannot believe you just said that to me. And he goes, look, Rajiv, here's the thing. You've been at the same company in the same state in which you were born. Your values right now are completely misaligned. He goes, if you're going to retire at Procter & Gamble, just admit that your values are security and stability, and that is what 99% of the world wants. There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to tell yourself you're wild and crazy, then go do something wild and crazy. Quit your job, pack your bags, move to the West Coast, and be a stand-up comic, because that would be wild and crazy. Because I'm not saying you need to do that, but you need to get your values in alignment. That was really tough. That was a really tough conversation to hear, but he was right. It really, really, really hurt because it's so important to define ourselves accurately. Finally, on this piece, recall the law of averages. Things have a way of reverting to the mean. At the University of Cincinnati, materials engineering, I remember I got a B in my mechanics class, and there was no plus-minus system at the time. I was so pissed off. I really wanted an A. I got an A in fluid mechanics, and that made me so happy because I worked so hard in that class. I got an A, I was so happy. I got a B in mechanics. It was mechanics 2. I was so angry about it. And I marched into Dean Young's office, and I told him, I'm like, I should have had an A in this class. He was a very calm man, and he looked at me, and he goes, okay, maybe you should have had an A in this class. But admit to me right now, there are probably times when you got an A and you should have gotten a B. And I realized how right he was. I also want to punch him in the face because that made so much sense. I'm like, you were so right about that, Dean Young. That's not fair, but you're right. But it's the same thing you will say to a cop. A police officer will stop you. You'll say, but officer, I was not speeding. And most police officers will look at you and go, well then fine. This ticket is for every other time that you were.